compare and contrast essay.
This essay is the last essay in the writing portion, and they give you 40 minutes to completely write this essay. And there's 5 minutes of suggested planning time, but we suggest that you use more than 5 minutes because most of us, when we took the test, we had a lot of extra time at the end. So if you use more time to plan, it'll be easier to write. You have 40 minutes to finish it, and it's about 16.7% of your entire grade on the whole exam. And you're to analyze why they are similar or different. The first part of the rubric is the basic core, which shows competence. There are 5 main topics to the basic core. The first one is that you have an acceptable thesis, which is worth 1 point, and that's found in the first paragraph of your essay. Our tip is that when you're writing your thesis, usually you write an intro before your thesis, but that is all just fluff. Don't write an intro. Just start with your thesis, and it'll save you some time. The second topic is that it addresses all parts of the question, though not necessarily evenly or thoroughly. That means that you need to address both or all differences in the question that they ask you. The third topic is that you substantiate thesis with appropriate historical evidence, which is worth 2 points, and that means fact dropping. And facts are all found in the body paragraphs. The fourth topic is that you make at least 1 or 2 relevant direct comparisons between or among societies, and that's also found in the body paragraphs. To make those comparisons, make sure you include both societies in the same sentence, otherwise they won't count it as a direct comparison. The fifth topic is that you analyze at least 1 reason for a similarity or difference identified in a direct comparison, and that is also found in a body paragraph. The expanded core is for excellence, which means you went above and beyond the basic core. So to earn expanded core points, you have to achieve all 7 points of the basic core. In the expanded core, it's like examples here. It says you have to have a clear, analytical, and comprehensive thesis, address all parts of the questions, comparisons, chronology, causation, connections, themes, interactions, content, provide ample historical evidence to substantiate thesis, relates comparisons to larger global context, makes several direct comparisons consistently between or among societies, or consistently analyzes the causes and effects. This is what you're going to see on the day of the exam. On the day of the exam, they're going to give you 2 packets. The first is the multiple choice packet, the second is the essay packet. And in the essay packet, there's going to be 3 parts, Part A, Part B, and Part C. Since the compare and contrast essay is last, this is going to be Part C. And during Part C, you're going to see these directions before the question. All these directions is hints as to what the rubric is going to be. And since you are supposed to have the rubric memorized and know what you're supposed to do, skip over this part because it's just going to waste your time. But if you do forget anything in the thesis that you need to include in your essay, look at this and it'll give you hints as to what you need to write.
Problem 1. Right here it says to analyze the similarities and differences in the rise of the 2 of the following empires. Right here you're going to get 3 choices, and we would recommend to pick the 2 you know most about. Like right here, we not recommend doing the first one because us that we've been here a whole year, we know more about the Aztec Empire and the Mongol Empire. Pick your poison. After you choose 2 of the societies or empires that you want, they're non-specific about a theme. In AP World History, there are a total of 5 themes. They are social, economic, environmental, political, and cultural. We recommend that you do either 2 similarities and 1 difference, or 2 differences and 1 similarity, since it does not give you how many you should do. That's what we recommend specifically for this problem. Prompt 2. Compare demographic and environmental effects of the Columbian Exchange on the Americas with the Columbian Exchange demographic and environmental effects on one of the following regions between 1492 and 1750. Now, when it says compare, it means to compare and contrast. It says it. And right here, when it says the Americas, you're going to have to do the Americas and one of the following given. So it's going to be the Americas and one of these. There is a specific theme given, environmental, and demographic, it's population, which fits into environmental. So basically there's two basic themes you're going to talk about throughout this essay, right here. We recommend to do 2 comparisons and 2 contrasts, since you have 2 basic themes, 2 and 2. Alright, for this prompt, you are giving a timeline between 1492 and 1750. So before you start writing, plan out the things you know that fit in between that timeline. So instead of you just giving random facts, make sure you know they fit in that timeline. Make sure to hit the specific themes. Don't go off and do like cultural or like other themes. Focus on the ones you're given. And even you're being told to choose one of the following, but we recommend that you always pick the one you know most about, the one that you can really focus on. Prompt 3. You are told to compare and contrast the roles of women in 2 of the following regions during the period of 1750 and 1914. So again, look at the timeline you're given. Make sure that the facts you're talking about fit in that timeline. Now notice here it says woman, so that means you're going to get a specific theme. That theme is going to be social. Again, now you have to look at this, it says 2. So you're going to pick 2. We recommend that you pick the 2 you know most about. We recommend to do either 2 similarities and 1 difference, or 2 differences and 1 similarity. That is what we recommend.
So this is an example of a thesis that goes with the last prompt we just talked about. And this says, from 1750 to 1914, East Asia and Western Europe both gave women some educational opportunities. While this is a good similarity, it's unacceptable because it doesn't include the differences, and they won't get the thesis point because it only talks about the similarity and doesn't talk about the difference, and you need to have both to get a thesis point. So this is another example of a thesis, and it says, while elite women in Western Europe were able to influence the Enlightenment as writers, women in East Asia mostly stayed at home to care for their families. In both societies, between 1750 and 1914, increased educational opportunities available to women. This thesis is acceptable. It includes the timeline that is specified, and it also involves this word right here, while, which is considered a complex word. Complex words help make your thesis better and more interesting. And also it's acceptable because it involves 2 differences and a similarity. So here's prompt 3 again, and we're showing it to you before we show you an example essay that a student wrote on an exam. So prompt 3 was about comparing and contrasting the roles of women in 2 of the following regions during the period from 1750 to 1914. And so this student chose East Asia and Western Europe. The student wrote this thesis for their essay. It says the role of women during 1750 to 1914 in East Asia was both different and similar to the role of women in Western Europe concerning social privileges and general statuses. This thesis is acceptable, but it's also quite vague, and they might not earn a point because of that. but they might also earn the point because they specifically say which theme and also which time period that is stated. This is body paragraph 1, which comes right after the thesis paragraph. The first sentence here says, women in East Asia didn't have much of a political existence, nor did they in Western Europe. And this sentence right here is what we call in our class a baby thesis. And that baby thesis can earn you points because you're referring to the question that it gives you. And this sentence cuts our thesis, our original thesis, in half, and we stick it to the front. So it'll introduce this similarity paragraph. These next few points that are in red are the historical facts. And so these are strategically placed facts to earn you points for however many facts you have. Also, this sentence here, it says, both societies were patriarchal and men primarily women stood by their side and had their children. That will give you a point for a direct comparison because it includes both societies in the same sentence. This is the second body paragraph that the student wrote. And in this body paragraph, they have their baby thesis here, and it says, yet in East Asia, women were seen as inferior to men, while in Western Europe, women were gaining equality. And this baby thesis earns you that second point for addressing all parts of the question. This next sentence is where they earn their analysis point, which is them describing why these two areas were different. And they said girls in East Asia put a financial liability on the family without giving back to the family because they were married into a new family. And also they added a few more points of historical context so that they would earn their historical points. So this is the conclusion to our example essay. And this is, in the conclusion, if you didn't earn your thesis point at the beginning of the essay, you can also earn your thesis point in the conclusion by restating your thesis. Because by the time you get to the conclusion, you usually know what you're talking about a bit more. And so you usually write a better thesis by the time you get to the end. So this student wrote, in both societies of East Asia and Western Europe, during the time period between 1750 to 1914, women were still thought of as inferior. Although treatment of women was more harsh in East Asia, women from both societies received unjust treatment and were only there to bear children. This thesis is acceptable, and it will also give them the point in case they didn't earn it in their first paragraph. Okay, so to recap what we've talked about in our video for you guys, just remember the time frame that they give you. It's really essential to know what time you're talking about because a lot of stuff has changed over time. So always remember the time frame. Our other point was use extra time to plan because they say that you should use 40 minutes and 5 of those minutes to plan, but we say use like maybe 10, 15 minutes to plan because a lot of us had extra time after we took our exam. And also make sure you reword your thesis in your conclusion